So, your name
My name's Brad Udall.
and spell it.
Bradudall.
And you work with, or your position right now?
I'm at the University of Colorado Law School, where I run the Policy Center at Colorado Law.
So, where are we today and what's being discussed?
Where are we today and what's being discussed?
Just a little nutshell version.
So we're at Resources for the Future, and we talked about the future of water in the U.S., both on a very high-level look at where shortages might occur in this century. And I also gave a talk on some of the issues around the Colorado River, which has been identified as exactly where some of those shortages might occur.
So, one of the things that we're doing right now is exploring how water citizens go to Congress. Now, personally, you may have a bit of an advantage having a little experience with Congress that most people don't have, I guess, if you want to say what that is.
Sure. So yeah, I'm a bit of a ringer when you ask me about going to Congress, because I have a brother who's a U.S. Senator, Mark, and a cousin who's a U.S. Senator, Tom, and my father was a congressman for 30-some-odd years, Morris, and my uncle actually ran the Interior Department as Secretary of the Interior in the Kennedy and Johnson years. So yeah, I have a bit of an unusual background there.
Now, at the same time, you work with a lot of experts, whether they're scientists, lawyers, economists, who may from time to time be asked to advise Congress. From your perspective, how do members of Congress benefit from this information from experts?
So if you want to give information to Congress, you need to do it in bite-sized chunks. It's great to go meet with them, but you want to have a nice written handout, not too long, like no more than 2 pages. You need to understand most of the time you are going to, and you really do want to interact not so much with the elected official himself, but the chief policy person, because that policy person oftentimes has enormous sway in the office in terms of what gets done and what doesn't get done. It's great, mind you, to meet with the elected representative, and that's important too, but the policy people, you need to understand that they are enormously influential.
So what do you see as the value from the perspective of the members of getting information from experts?
The value to members of getting information from experts is, that's how members of Congress operate, right? Very few of them are experts in everything in which they vote upon, and water being such a difficult area in which to get expertise, they rely on citizens to come talk to them about what issues are and what solutions are. Congressmen are really funnels. They take, they have an enormous funnel of information from all kinds of people, and it's their job to condense that down into policy positions. So, in some sense, they're at the mercy of the public's engagement, right? Don't expect them to be experts, although some may very well be, but most of them are not, especially in the case of water, which is super complex.
What do you see as the role of experts, whether it's on advocating a position or on being a neutral, independent source?
Well, there are multiple roles for experts. You can be an advocate for sure. You can be an independent arbiter. Oftentimes, the way the system works, people in Congress expect less so independent and more so people who have an angle, and that's fine. Independent experts also can be enormously important, because if they don't come with an axe to grind, in some ways they can be more trusted as to what the real answers are. And it sort of depends, are you really talking hard science, in which case hopefully the science doesn't lie, or are you talking about policy outcomes, in which case everybody's entitled to a policy, and there is no such sense as truth in policy. There's just different people who gain from this policy as opposed to lose from this policy.
I don't know if you saw, just a few months ago, Roger Pilkey did a post about his experience, his experiences testifying, being invited to testify.
No, I haven't seen that post. I'd love to see it. I've testified a couple of times, and it's always interesting. There are lots of things about testifying that probably aren't spoken about. And maybe that's what he wrote about, the kind of behind-the-scenes aspect of testifying.
So what are some of the things that someone who has some expertise, something to say, something to contribute, can do to prepare? What are some of the resources that might be available?
So how can people contribute to Congress, or how, you know, so Congress operates typically in these 2-page, 4-page, being enormously large memo, and so synthesis and condensation is really important for people in Congress because they're hammered by so many different issues and so many different people. It's really important that you explain things in the simplest possible terms, and even, you know, I would argue even sometimes having an elevator speech that's 30 seconds long about your issue is a good thing to have. You obviously want more than that, but it's a good starting point.
Members of Congress have kind of taken a big hit lately in terms of whether they're functional, whether they are doing their job, in that we now have a government shutdown. How do I say this? What can you say about the people who are in Congress and their role and their intent and what they're trying to do?
You know, I think I saw something where we've had 17 of these shutdowns over the last 30 some odd years. Most of them don't go that long. Although I think the average is 12 days, someone told me. I think it's a frustrating time for everybody. I hope we get through this sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Do you think people in Congress are receptive to wanting to hear from people?
Oh, they have to be, absolutely. I mean, that's their job. They've got to hear from people. I mean, that's the job of being a representative. You represent people. The only way you can represent them is to hear them and listen to them and incorporate what they say into how you act.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.